Nationally syndicated talk radio host Michael Medved. We should also mention he is from Philadelphia, and African Studies Director at the University of Pennsylvania, Camille Charles. Good to see both of you, and I appreciate your taking the time. Camille, let me start with you. The magazine editor, you just heard him, Tom McGrath, saying, look, don't blame the messenger. We're just trying to have a conversation. Do you think that the way they conveyed their message, though, that let's talk about race, was racist?
No, I mean, to say let's talk about race is not racist. And you know, we throw the word racist around sometimes far too easily. I think it was insensitive in some ways, and it left African Americans in Philadelphia feeling left out of that conversation, because African Americans have to think about being black in terms of the way that white society thinks about black people. And the reverse is also true. So to exclude them from that conversation is a little bit problematic. But I think a bigger issue is that the author of the article actually lives in one of the most stably integrated neighborhoods in the country. And it's roughly 50-50 black-white. It's solidly middle class and upper middle class. And where you actually do have these kinds of conversations going on. I live 2 miles from that Wawa. And people do talk explicitly about race in that community. On the other hand, he chose to go to a neighborhood, and remember, Philadelphia is one of the most segregated cities in the country. He chooses to go to a neighborhood that is extremely segregated, not only by race, but also by class. And so in some sense, you've got middle-class whites bumping up against some of the poorest blacks in the city. And so all of the negative stereotypes that have been problematic throughout history are more likely to be concentrated in those communities. And so that adds to the difficulty in talking about race, but it also changes the conversation fundamentally. And I think another thing to think about it is that in the same way that blacks don't like to be thought about as a monolithic or singular community that all thinks the same way, whites don't either. And so to portray this as all whites in Philadelphia is problematic, and whites actually should be troubled by that as well.
Interesting point. And Michael, what do you think about the context here that just this weekend we found out that whites in America are going to be a minority within the next 30 years, and obviously that will be compared to a plurality of blacks, Hispanics, and Asians, right? So it's not that there's going to be one other group that dominates. But it is an interesting time. Even just seeing the word whites anything is not the way we're used to seeing it phrased. Let's just be honest.
Well, what I think was foolish about the article, and I think the article's profoundly stupid. I don't think it's racist. Everything that is racist is stupid, but not everything that is stupid is racist. This is stupid. And it's stupid to say this is being white in Philadelphia. There are many different ways of being white in Philadelphia. And one of the things that Mr. Huber does in the article is he starts out talking about people who are from, in one case, from Russia, and in the other case, from Panama, who are not native Philadelphians and who have very little, for whom the city itself is alien. And it's not just the African Americans in the city of Philadelphia. What I think is problematic here is the overreaction by the mayor. The fact that he wants the Human Rights Commission to, and to read, I mean, surely Mayor Nutter has better things to do right now. I think Philadelphia has bigger problems than a foolish article that was foolishly titled. If they had called the article something about one neighborhood's problems or some white people have retrograde attitudes, it would have been fine. But being white in Philadelphia, and they're going to define this based upon the comments of an emigre who says that all black people spend their time smoking marijuana and popping out babies, yeah, that's pretty offensive.
Yeah, I think we all can agree with that. But I would recommend everyone read it and share us your opinion, whether you think it's racist, inappropriate, what you think of the stories within it. And thanks very much to Michael and Camille.